Alrighty, what's going on today? I'm in a very special car, 2017 M6 Coupe, which is a unicorn. They actually stopped producing them as the F13 model. Yeah, it's a freaking awesome car. Usually the one I'm in is a competition package. It usually has 600 horsepower. This one that I'm driving, I would say probably has close to 800 horsepower. We won't get into the details of all the hookups, but it's definitely freaking fast. I'll tell you that much. Obviously, it being rear-wheel drive, you know, putting down that 800 horsepower, it's not easy for the car. You slam the gas, even with MDM mode. Which is, you know, traction off, not completely, but it lets you spin tires a little bit. I mean, even MDM mode, the tires just want to keep spinning. You could definitely feel the horsepower, and it just, unfortunately, with rear-wheel drive cars, it gets to the limit where it can't put down that power. So that's where the all-wheel drive system comes into hand, like the new F90 M5s. I mean, they have to. They realized even with 600 horsepower, it was very, very difficult to plan that power down and get the times that you want. But that's why they updated the new F series, or they're gonna go into the G series. But now the new M5s come with all-wheel drive just to plan that power. That's the number one thing, is so that you could actually use that horsepower, because you get to the point where you could keep adding horsepower, but if the rear wheels are just spinning, you know, it's pretty much pointless. But it's pointless to get times, but for fun factor, you could keep adding horsepower, and the fun is going to increase dramatically. It's definitely, you know, the car is sick. It sounds good. Let's hear it right now.
Caution, red light camera overspeed.
So as you see, it sounds good. It has the stock exhaust. I would definitely, you know, update the exhaust to make it sound even better, but even stock, it's not bad at all, because you got that V8 sound. I mean, that V8, you can't compete with it. You know, I have the M4, but having the 6-cylinder straight inline 6, no matter what exhaust you put on it, is just not gonna have that deep growl that a V8 gives you. Looks wise, it looks awesome. It's very aggressive. On the other hand, it looks elegant. It definitely looks like an expensive car, which it obviously is. But you know, the owner of this car is adding on some carbon fiber pieces, which I think with Sakir orange, this exterior color, and the carbon fiber pieces on the exterior, I mean, it's an awesome contrast. And definitely, if you get like a dark color car, which is what my preference is, but when you add carbon fiber pieces, they don't stick out like they do on a brighter car, especially like a, you know, a red, orange car like this. So that's definitely a big plus. Handling wise, it handles very, very well. Like, you know, almost every BMW does, but you could definitely feel that it's heavy. It's not like an M4, which obviously the last month I got used to. The M4 is a lot lighter. It'll take turns very lightly. It's just, you know, you could feel it's light on its feet. This car, especially when you start taking turns, you could feel the weight. The 800 horsepower, and sorry I keep going back to that, but the 800 horsepower definitely helps make it feel even lighter. But you could still, especially taking the turns, is where you feel the weight distribution, and you feel that the weight just wants to roll to the side that you're turning, well, the outside of the turn. But it's still the handling is awesome. I mean, I have the way I have it set up is I have the throttle response as Sport Plus, the suspension in Sport mode, and the steering response, I have that up in Sport Plus mode as well. So this one in Sport Plus, the steering wheel doesn't feel too tight. It's perfect, just like the M4 I drive. I always put it on Sport Plus. But the weird thing is the F10 M5 I have, I always set it up in Sport because Sport Plus feels very tight. So it's weird. I was a little bit surprised that the steering feel is a little bit different from the M5 compared to this M6. You know, them being, they have the same engine, basically the same size, same weight. So I thought the steering wheel would feel closer to the M5, but I would say it actually feels, the tightness of it feels more like the M4. So one negative about the car, especially because luckily I get a chance to drive the M5, the M4, so I get a little bit of a comparison to the M6 as well, is the size of it. And when I say the size, I don't mean how big it is. I'm actually talking about the interior and how tight it is. The front two seats, no problems. Obviously, you move back your seat, you're sitting perfectly fine. But the rear, there's no room whatsoever, which is, it actually kind of was a surprise to me, because I have the M4, and the M4 actually has more leg room in the back than the M6 does, which kind of baffles me, because the M6 is a lot bigger car than the M4. I park them right next to each other. It's almost a foot longer. Obviously, looking over by the eye, on paper it might be, you know, the exact numbers I don't have, but it is definitely a longer car than the M4. But the spacing inside is actually smaller. So that, I don't know why they did that. I mean, I know they have the V8 in here, they need more room in the front for it, no problems. But the thing is, I have the M5 as well, and it's not longer than this car, and the M5 has a lot more room, leg room, than my M4 does. So it just, I mean, I know it's the design of it and the way they did it, but it seems like they made the hood very long, they made the trunk space very big, but then they didn't really concentrate on making room for especially the rear passengers. But even in the front, I mean, you sit perfectly fine, but it doesn't feel like a big car, which it definitely is. It's a big car, it's a heavy car. So I don't know why they do it that way. And the thing is that the headroom is also smaller than even the M4. You know, because especially even if you get like the Grand Coupe, I believe the legroom there definitely should be bigger. So that's a plus. But the headroom, because of the way the roof is designed and it tilts down, especially for the rear seat passengers, that's where you know, if you're over 6 feet, you're sitting with your head tilted to the side. So that's one thing that kind of surprises me, because again, the car is bigger than the M4, but why does it have less leg room, especially again in the back, than the M4 does? It's weird. It really is weird. But that, honestly, that is probably the only negative that I see. For my personal taste, I would definitely make a little bit more room in here. And I know they have the 7 Series, the 5 Series. Those are the ones they concentrate on making room. So this car is designed a little bit different. It's more of a sports car. They don't really, you know, concentrate on the rear seat passengers. But in that case, don't even put the seats in the back. So, you know, if you're trying to do a trip, like a road trip on the car with 4 people, it's not going to be comfortable. The people in the back are not going to like it. But otherwise, the car is awesome. Besides that one negative for me, The car is awesome. It drives freaking awesome. It sounds awesome. I actually did an exhaust open valve mod on this car, so the valves are always open. So the sound actually got a little bit louder now as well. So yeah, I like the car, no doubt about it.